guys, today I'm going to be showing you how I set up my journal for January. It's going to be a completely illustration-free setup, so if you aren't comfortable or confident in drawing, then this will be perfect for you. We're going to be doing a little bit of upcycling, collaging, and also get some Dutch door action going on there, so let's get started. Since we're going to be doing some collaging, I pulled out my giant collection of washi, but there's a specific set that I'm using. I especially liked this one because it had a washi tape that was black based, because I know that it's going to provide a lot of contrast onto my page, which is really important since I'm not going to be doing a lot of ink work or illustration. The next few things I'm pulling out are things you can look out for with the upcoming holidays, such as wrapping paper, gift bags, a random injured cat, nope, just kidding. Anyway, gift bags, as long as they're in a pretty neutral pattern and nothing too Christmassy. Tissue paper, either white or colored. Greeting cards, again, as long as they have pretty neutral artwork. Any product packaging that you think is pretty, and also an old book. This gorgeous paper that I'm showing you here is actually product packaging. During the holidays, a lot of products will usually have really beautiful packaging like this. So with Christmas coming up, if you get any presents, just make sure that you pay attention to that, and if you see anything pretty, just grab it, make sure that nobody throws it into the trash, and you can save it for your journal. I just cut out some of that and I'm going to be using it almost like patterned paper. And then I also pulled out some tissue paper, and it's already all crumpled up and everything, but that's totally fine because I like the texture that it gives. This is similar to when I've used tracing or parchment paper, but as a bonus, I'm kind of recycling these materials instead of using new ones, so I can feel like I am a good human for doing that. And the last thing I pulled out are these paper doilies, which are really refined and delicate. So onto the actual journaling, I'm starting off with that black-based floral washi tape that I was mentioning earlier, and I'm going to be creating an entire color-blocked piece of this washi tape, and I'm just making a simple rectangle square shape here. And I'm just going to lay the washi tape pieces right up against each other so that it looks like one large block of pattern. I'm not being too precise about lining up the edges, and I'm also just ripping them off for now because we are going to trim that off later so that it looks more precise. Now that I have my area of washi all blocked in, I'm taking an X-Acto knife and a ruler and running down the edge of my block of washi, and I'm not cutting through all the way, I'm just putting very light pressure on this so that it just cuts through the top layer of washi. Since washi tape is really thin, you don't want to cut too much so that it slices through your paper. If you want, you can practice this on a scrap piece of paper so that you can just get the pressure right, but I've done this before, so I kind of know how much pressure to add on there. And then after that, I'm just gonna use my X-Acto knife to help me lift up the edges and peel off all those extra pieces, and then you are left with a completely perfect square without having to deal with all of that fidgety cutting while you're taping down the pieces. Then I pulled out these alphabet stickers, which I know I didn't show you in the beginning, but these are optional. I do like using letter stickers when I'm doing these types of collaging layouts because I can overlap them a little bit like I'm doing here. If you have them, you can use them, but if not, you can just letter or write your title underneath. And then after that's on, I'm going to just draw in a quick dashed line all around the border of my washi tape block just to give it a little more definition. To finish off, I'm going to create a little mini calendar under the title and also add a few strips of washi underneath that as well for some extra decoration. On the opposite side, I'm going to create a little bit of a decorative page, and I'm creating a border all around with this Monstera washi, which I completely love. Monsteras are just so beautiful, and I am using my X-Acto knife here to create straight borders so that it's a very precise and geometric look to match the geometric look on the right side of the page. Since this is basically like the first page in my notebook for the whole year, I wanted to do a little bit more of a meaningful decorative page, so inside this border I'm going to completely fill it in with journaling. And I know this is going to sound really cheesy, but I basically wrote it kind of like as a letter to myself. It's not really like resolutions or anything because I do have a goals page at the back of my journal that I showed you in my 2020 journal setup. This is almost like the counterpart of a resolutions or goals page actually, because I really wanted to just write a reminder to myself to take care of myself and to remember to enjoy things even when you're working hard. I feel like during the new year especially, there's a lot of pressure to have these goals and to just hustle and work hard, but sometimes we just need a reminder to slow down as well. So that's kind of the gist of what I'm writing here. I really wanted to fill up this page with really small script letters because it almost abstracts the journaling and makes it look really pretty and decorative. I was actually going to kind of cover up some of this page as well with 2020 and alphabet stickers just to abstract it even further and make it look more decorative, but I ran out of 2's and O's in all of my alphabet sticker sets, so I couldn't do that. But if you have those stickers, you can go ahead and add those. For the next spread, I'm going to be doing a large monthly calendar, and you can see I've already ripped up some of those pieces that I showed you earlier, and I really like to tear pieces when I'm collaging so it has more of a rough organic edge, and I've layered some of that tissue paper under that floral packaging paper, and I'm also layering some of the book page and washi tape as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and tape this down. And once I have those pieces of paper put down, I'm going to layer some washi tape on top as well. And you can also see here how I've decorated opposite corners of the page. I really like to do this to visually balance out the page, but conveniently it usually works out like this anyway because of the way the calendar is shaped, which you'll see once I start outlining the calendar here with my black fine liner. I'm just doing a very simple black outline for this calendar shape, and then I also created a blacked out header for the top. I think this is pretty important for when you're not doing illustration because creating contrast is always a good way to make your page pop, and if you don't have a lot of inked drawings on there, then just coloring in color blocked areas like this really helps to make your page stand out a little more. And I'm going to go in with a white gel pen later to add headers on top of the blackout areas. Then again, I pulled out those same letter stickers and I'm going to spell out January on the top right of this grid. A little trick I have when you're dealing with letter stickers like this is to just stick them on the back of a sticker sheet like this so that it's easy to line them up straight. And then having a clear sheet lets you see through as well to see exactly where you want to position it. You can move it around the page until you like it, and when you're ready, you can just press down and pull out the sticker sheet. Now I'm just going to fill in the rest of the calendar by creating some little circles that match the color of the letter stickers and then filling in the dates. Now we're on to the weekly spreads, and I'm going to start with this little January sticker. I'm just using this because I found it in my collection, but you can of course just write out January, and I'm going to create a little mini calendar underneath this as well. So for this month, I'm going to be doing a little Dutch door setup for all of my weeks, and if you don't know what that is, don't worry, I will explain it. But for now, we're just going to concentrate on this little area on the left side of the left page. And I'm making sure that I only go in about 8 squares on my grid because we are going to be doing some cutting action later. So I filled in this calendar and a couple of dates, and I'm leaving some extra space to fill in more dates later on, and then I'm just going to stick a strip of that black floral washi tape along the side of this. We're going to come back to this page, but for now I'm turning to the right side of this spread now, and I'm actually going to cut the page. I'm counting 8 squares in and then cutting a straight line all down the side of the page. And once I'm done cutting, I'm just gonna make sure that it's the right width by turning it over and making sure I can still see that column on the left side of the page. Since that's good, I'm going to go ahead and keep cutting more pages. I'm going to cut the next 3 pages, so in total you should have 4 cut pages. Once all of those pages are cut, I turn to the next uncut page. I'm laying down a strip of washi to match the one on the left side and just making sure that I can see a tiny sliver of that when the pages are turned over. And to the right of that, we'll have another 7 or 8 boxes for me to fill in another area. I'm going to use this as a habit tracker for the whole month. So I'm going to run the numbers 1 through 31 all down the side of that page and then just list a few habits up at the top. I really like doing this for a habit tracker because when my habit tracker is on its own spread, I tend to forget about it and not turn to it, but this way I'll be able to see it no matter what week I'm on, and that will remind me to fill it in. If you don't like habit trackers at all, then you can always replace this with something else. I've seen people use this area a lot for weekly events. Like if you have a recurring event or classes that happen every week, you can just list them on the side here so that you don't have to keep repeating that for every weekly spread. Now I'm going to finish off all of these weeks by filling in boxes for all of these pages, and it's going to be the same exact layout for every week. I'm just going to draw 7 boxes, and in the last spot I'm going to divide it into 2 for my notes and meal planning. I'm just going to show you how I did one of these since all the weeks are going to be the same and I don't think you need to see me draw a bunch of boxes. But once it's done, we'll have this Dutch door system, and this is my first time making this, but I really like how it came out because it's really effective and efficient, and I love the idea of not having to draw little mini calendars on every single page. I also just want to point out how nice that black floral washi tape is, because again, if you had a washi tape that was like white or clear based, you kind of wouldn't see that border that I created along the outside of all of these cut pages, but with the black washi, it creates a really nice defined edge. Now that I've finished with all of my boxes for my weekly spreads, I'm going to go back to that first left side page that I started. And I had a little bit of extra space underneath those monthly events. I didn't think I needed to leave the entire column for that because, I don't know, my life is pretty boring, so I don't need too much space for that. You can take up the whole column if you have more things to fill in, but I'm going to fill it in with some collaging. So I pulled out that doily and I cut a little strip of that, and I'm also layering some of my old book page and some washi again. I really like adding this doily because it gives a really like posh look, which I think is really nice to juxtapose against all of this essentially trash that I'm putting into my journal, and it kind of just makes it look a lot nicer. And once that's done, the setup is complete for January, so I'm gonna do a little flip through for you. I really like how this month, since I wasn't doing any illustrations, I was really able to bring in a lot of different elements. I always love collaging in my journal, so that was a no-brainer for me, but I liked being able to upcycle some materials. I don't know why, but I always get this huge sense of pride whenever I find a way to work something into my journal that is just from like a normal everyday object. It's so much more satisfying than just buying a pack of stickers and sticking that in, although of course I do love that as well. And it's also really nice to concentrate on really fun layouts like the Dutch door layout. Since we're not doing any illustration, it's kind of nice just to add in a different element. So I hope you guys really liked this, especially if you are kind of intimidated by illustrations. I hope that this gave you some ideas for what you can do in your bullet journal, and I will see you again next time. Bye!
Oh my gosh, Junie, can you please stop?